The AirPods and AirPods Pro are some of the best truly wireless earbuds on the market. And while there are alternatives that excel in different ways, the AirPods Pro are really the benchmark that everyone compares against. And so it was only natural that Apple moved on to truly wireless headphones in the AirPods Max. Now, the AirPods Max are controversial in some ways, with the most notable one being the price point. At $550, they're significantly more expensive than other mainstream alternatives, but they offer a number of features to set themselves apart. Now, are those features worth it, and should you consider buying the AirPods Max? Let's talk about it. This is NOISO, and this is my AirPods Max review. The AirPods Max are incredibly impressively designed. It's kind of like someone took an Apple Watch on its side and blew it up to maximum size. And while there aren't any decorations or not even a logo, these are immediately recognizable as Apple products and immediately recognizable as the AirPods Max because they're so unique from other devices. The all-metal design is incredibly premium feeling. The metal band is sturdy and rigid and quite a bit less flexible than any other headphones that I've used. It's split and connected by this mesh, which acts as the cushion rather than a more traditional padding. The mesh is okay. Generally, it keeps the metal from hitting my head, but I wouldn't call it very comfortable. Admittedly, it took quite a few tries before I could find a really comfortable place for these to rest on my head. And maybe it's just that I have an oddly shaped head, but strangely enough that I had one of the sides extended further than the other, and that's the most comfortable way to wear it. And even then, the amount of clamp force that these have ends up putting a pressure on the sides of my head that gives me a little bit of a headache when I've listened to these for a couple hours. In other words, there are a few times that I was wearing these that I found it to be truly comfortable and not bother me after a couple hours of use. And so, if I had my choice, I would probably choose the Bose QC35s over this, just because they're so much more lightweight and they're easier to use for longer periods of time. Apple's trademark intuitive design doesn't really shine through here. There's no way to fold up the headphones to be compact enough to fit into a small case, but frankly, even my QC35s, even though they do fold up, the case really isn't that much more compact. When taking the AirPods Max out of their case, the two sides snap together with the rigidity of the band, which causes these little 2 points to rub and hit each other quite frequently. And so, frankly, I'm a little bit nervous that there's going to be wear over time here, but maybe Apple thought of that. Two controls for everything does seem to be a very Apple thing to do. The front button controls noise cancellation or audio pass-through mode, where the back button, or the digital crown, allows you to control volume and track controls. Play, pause, fast forward, rewind, all that stuff. I'm actually happy that there's no dedicated Siri button because, frankly, I wouldn't use it anyways. While both of the controls work as expected and frankly, using the dial to control audio is quite nice, if I had my choice, I'd probably want these controls on the bottom of the device so that I can easily access them with my thumb. And quite often when I was trying to skip tracks, I would accidentally turn the dial either way and change the volume when I wasn't intending to. And then there's the case. Now, while everyone has been ragging on this for being kind of a crappy case for a $550 pair of headphones, I really don't care. Now, the material reminds me a lot of the Magic Keyboards or the Smart Keyboards material, which frankly attracts a lot of fingerprints and it feels like it's not too durable and won't last over time. So after using it a couple times and getting sick of the way the AirPods slam together when you take them out, I threw it in a drawer and I didn't really use it again. Now, that could have mixed results based on what we're seeing. It could be that battery life is reduced from not being able to put them to sleep in their case. But frankly, I still got enough battery life without it that it isn't worth it for me. And so I got rid of it. Now, when it comes to battery life, I found that the AirPods Max had consistently great battery life. Now, I couldn't tell you how long they lasted, but I found that even when I had maybe 20% left of battery, I could still reliably get quite a few hours out of it. And so I wasn't too worried about charging them too often. Charging them with the lightning cable is obviously a bummer, but I have a number of lightning cables around my house, so it doesn't make a big difference for me. It's sad that I'm not able to connect them easily to a 3.5mm headphone jack without paying even more. But frankly, I'm perfectly fine with using just Bluetooth on these headphones. Most of my time using the AirPods Max, I was listening to music, watching YouTube, listening to podcasts, and then watching videos on streaming services. Now, generally, I thought the audio quality was quite excellent, but I will say that I'm no audiophile. I do appreciate good music, but frankly, most of the time I'm more concerned with just getting the music to my ears with a kind of minimum level of quality. And frankly, these are way past that threshold. I did notice when I was listening to music on the AirPods Max that I catch little things in the background that I wouldn't normally catch on other headphones, lower quality headphones. And this could be background vocals or little guitar riffs or anything like that really make music fuller for me. But frankly, I don't need to hear those things every single time I listen to music. And so the AirPods Max, while having excellent music quality, audio quality, it wasn't really critical to me. Now, I did notice that the bass on the AirPods Max seemed to be turned up a little bit, and so the audio seemed to be a little bit more booming. And since I already had discomfort with the AirPods Max clamping my head, it was a little uncomfortable to have louder bass. I'd love to have a first-party app from Apple to control the bass, but unfortunately it's not available, which kind of confuses me because it seems like a pretty simple solution. And then there's what I'll call the smart features, starting with Quick Connect. Now, admittedly, the first few times that I tried to use Quick Connect, it was not working at all for me, and then I realized that I hadn't updated it to the newest versions of iOS. So once I updated to the newest versions of iOS, the AirPods Max very easily switched between my iPhone, several iPhones, my iPad, and my MacBook, which was a nice feature to have. Frankly, I don't think it's a massive differentiating feature, especially considering I have a lot of other devices that I just would rather connect via Bluetooth, Windows laptops and Android phones. It was nice to be able to easily switch between Apple products, but that's not the game changer for me. And I think most people will be just fine with other modern headphones that connect to 2 or 3 devices without issue. The autoplay pause functionality was nice to have, but sometimes I noticed that when I pulled the headphones back and listened with one ear, it would sometimes pause, sometimes play, depending on whether it mistook my hair for my ear. But otherwise, the feature is really nice to have, and though it's on most modern headphones. The noise canceling feature of the AirPods Max is absolutely incredible. And while I can't compare it side by side with Sony, I will say that the noise canceling on this is more than enough. Things like dishwashers, laundry machines, heaters, and loud computer fans all seem to just disappear in the background when you have noise cancellation on. I'm embarrassed to admit that there were actually several instances where people actually snuck up on me accidentally, even though they were calling my name, just because the noise cancellation was that good. And even with music volume at relatively low levels, people's voices actually could disappear. Now, frankly, when I'm in my office, I don't really need that much noise cancellation because most of the sounds I hear are just computer fans and heaters, but it is really nice when you're in louder places. And then I had the misfortune of bringing these on a plane. Now, a lot of people aren't traveling right now, but it's an obvious use case to be able to use these on a plane to block out the engine noise and any other noises. While on the plane, I started out listening to music and then ended up watching a movie. And when I was watching the movie, if I kept my head completely still, the noise cancellation would be perfect at blocking out all the sound from the fans above and the engine noise. But then, strangely enough, when I ended up turning my head either way, the fans from overhead would actually hit the headphones at a different angle and cause a distortion between the 2 headphones. You see, I think that these have separate microphones for handling noise cancellation. And so as a result, they each independently create their own noise cancellation. And so when you have an odd thing like a fan blowing against the microphone, the headphones seem to get confused. As if it couldn't get any worse, then we started preparing for landing. And while I usually don't have pressure issues while on planes, as we were getting lower and lower and the cabin pressure changed, I noticed that my ears started to hurt immensely and I got this splitting headache. And I noticed that it was like elevated or escalated by the fact that I had noise cancellation turned on. And so I had to take them off. And it actually took me a couple hours before I started feeling better. Now, I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know if I could really blame it on the AirPods Max, but I haven't really experienced that much pressure before. So maybe it's just my issue, or maybe it could be solved with a software update. But frankly, I don't know if I feel comfortable taking these on a plane again, just because it was so painful. And then there's the audio pass-through mode, which is also incredibly impressive. Now, I've used audio pass-through on other headphones, but frankly, more often than not, I turn it off because I notice there's a little bit of latency between when a noise is made and I actually hear it. And so that sort of echo effect is just not for me. And so, but that is not a problem at all on the AirPods Max. Every bit of audio seems immediate. It seems instant. And so you don't really feel like you're listening through speakers. Now, I do notice that there are some high noises, like the rubbing of your hand on your shirt, that is amplified and it feels louder than it actually should be, but that's a small price to pay. And so I really appreciate the audio pass-through mode. But that made me realize something. You know how a couple of years ago there was kind of that meme about how people would leave their AirPods in while talking to people and it kind of felt passive-aggressive and rude? Well, now that whole thing is significantly easier because of audio pass-through. And so I found that I could easily just have conversations with people with my headphones still on. Now, admittedly, this still felt a little bit rude to me because every single conversation started with a "can you hear me?" to which I responded with a thumbs up if I was in audio pass-through mode and the finger if I was in noise cancellation mode. Now, but strangely enough, that's exactly how I handled several conversations, just because I was too lazy to take them off and put them around my neck. Now, frankly, it's not really comfortable around the neck, but I still think you probably should just take them off when you're having conversations with people. So finally, let's talk about the price. Now, $550 could just seem absolutely ridiculous to you, and I completely understand that. But it's clear that Apple seems to try and differentiate their products and put them in a higher price tier. And so there are a couple of features here that might be worth the price to you, depending on whether you're already in the Apple ecosystem. It seems to me that Apple's trying to position this similarly to the way that they position their XDR display, in that it's significantly more premium than other competitors, but it's significantly undercutting kind of the studio grade headphones that you would get. Now, obviously, these aren't going to have the same sort of quality as studio grade headphones, but I don't think that's going to matter to most people. And then based on what I've seen with other Apple products, it seems that Apple's probably going to wait a couple years before releasing a sequel to these. And since these are pretty sturdily built, they will probably retain their value better than a lot of other headphones on the market. And so even though you're paying significantly more for them, the depreciation could be less. I have confidence that even if I do choose to sell these, that I will get most of my money back. And sell them is what I plan on doing. While I was really impressed with the features and the noise cancellation and the audio pass-through modes, I really don't think that's enough to warrant the higher price point for me or to have these. I'm not as ingrained in the Apple ecosystem as a lot of people, and so while it was nice to use for my iPhone or iPad or MacBook, it really didn't set itself apart when using it with other devices, and I probably would prefer just a normal Bluetooth set of headphones then. I fully hope and expect that Apple will fix some of the issues that I had with the AirPods Max through software updates, like by offering noise cancellation levels rather than just on and off, and offering the ability to control your audio profile the way that you want it. Until then, I'm just going to probably stick with my Bose QC35s and get more familiar with the sound of my dishwasher. Thank you for watching InnoISO. I hope you like this video, and I hope I'm not talking too loudly considering the fact that I'm wearing headphones. If you liked it, be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.